She was so freaking mean to me.
Well, because I was trying to calmly leave and not cause a thing. No apologies necessary.
Because had Oprah Winfrey said, I'm gonna have your mother, I would have said, shut it down.
When Oprah's like, stand up and show me your body, show us why you're worthy of being here, that was so not okay.
Oprah wanted to exploit her for views. Monique wasn't having it. She said, I'm not doing that.
I speak about that woman because she's spoken about me. And when you begin to speak about me privately, I'm gonna speak about you publicly.
Oprah Winfrey has not been in the public's good graces recently, as she's been exposed for taking weight loss medication and caring more about herself than others. Now, starting off, we have her school. The Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls opened in Johannesburg in 2007. Now, this was one of Oprah's passion projects. She founded it with $40 million of her own money, and she even hand-selected the 152 students who attended. Everything seemed perfect until it wasn't. Oprah seemed to handpick the students, but it turns out she didn't do a good enough job when it came to hiring the staff. Less than a year after the school had opened, 6 students came forward to accuse dorm matron Virginia Tani Mekagobo of mistreating them. Virginia pleaded not guilty, and her trial was ongoing. She was arrested in November 2007 and released on bail, and she faced 17 different charges. It has shaken me to my core, Oprah said, of returning to South Africa with a team of private detectives to investigate the allegations and personally speak with the girls. This has been one of the most devastating, if not the most devastating experiences of my life, she said. Now, in the end, Oprah fired all the matrons no matter what. Now, following the first trial, Oprah was sued by the headmistress of the school for defamation. She alleged that Oprah defamed her by implying that she was covering up the mistreatment going on at the school. However, this case was later settled outside of court before the arranged trial, according to CNN. Now, that's not all that happened there though. Speculation of numerous missing girls from the academy spread like wildfire across social media, and then in March of 2007, some parents complained because they were only allowed to visit their children once a month, and the girls were only allowed to use their cell phones on the weekends. One parent said, "It's a nightmare. We had only 2 hours to see my child. Surely this isn't a prison or an institution." Another mother said her homesick daughter was very upset over the rules. "Michelle phones me in tears sometimes, and then I don't know what to say to her," she said. The school is currently still running, but I hope the girls are being treated better than they were before. Now, Oprah has always been made fun of for her weight, which is honestly just a shame. "It was public sport to make fun of me for 25 years. I have been blamed and shamed, and I blamed and shamed myself," she said. Now, one hurtful moment early in her career was when she landed on fashion critic Mr. Blackwell's list. "I was on the cover of some magazine and it said dumpy, frumpy, and downright lumpy," she said. "I didn't feel angry, I felt sad, I felt hurt, I swallowed the shame, I accepted that it was my fault," she said. Now, one controversial moment regarding her weight loss was in 1988 when she unveiled her new slim figure by taking off an oversized coat and wheeling out a wagon holding 67 pounds of animal fat, the amount she had lost in less than 5 months. Now, the episode drew huge attention, earning the highest ratings in the show's history. However, years later, Oprah expressed regret about it, stating that it was simply an ego trip and admitting that she eventually regained all the weight back. Then there's the fact for the past 10 years, Oprah has worked with Weight Watchers, a diet program that was all the craze. Although it has been criticized by a lot of people as being harmful and promoting disordered eating. With some people not liking her promoting this, she then came out in 2023 saying that she was using an unnamed weight loss medication, and that's how she was able to lose a lot of weight. So it wasn't the Weight Watchers, which made a lot of people feel lied to. Then in 2024, she decided to step down and stop working with Weight Watchers altogether. Many people are saying that she's a sellout and that everything she's ever stood for was a lie. And hey, I can't blame people for being upset over this. It's very likely that she's taking Ozempic or something Ozempic adjacent, which is actually a medication for people who are diabetics. A lot of normal everyday people can't afford to take this medication, and they also don't want to take it from people who really need it, aka diabetics. Now, I understand why people are so upset about this, as Oprah claimed for years that a specific weight loss program was working for her. She's lost a bunch of weight, and then she reveals it was all due to medication. I'm glad she's she's happy with her body, but it now feels like she tricked a lot of people into believing something that will never come true, and it's just scummy. Then there was her whole Maui fund. In August 2023, a series of wildfires broke out in Hawaii, predominantly on the island of Maui. The wind-driven fires prompted evacuations and caused widespread damage, ending the lives of at least 102 people and leaving 2 people missing. Now after this happened, Oprah and The Rock came together to create their own fund to help victims, called People's Fund of Maui. It was to distribute cash directly to people who were affected by the wildfires on the Hawaiian island. Now the 2 celebrities contributed an initial payment of $10 million to the fund and invited the public to contribute their own donations for the rest of it. Now after it was launched, people started questioning why the celebs were asking everyday people to donate instead of their celebrity friends, or even them just funding it themselves. I mean, Oprah's net worth at the time was $2.5 billion. Yes, billion with a B. She could have given away so much of her own money, but she decided to ask others for help. Now people started calling them out on social media, and instead of taking this critique, Oprah hit back and made things worse. All the online conversations being slammed, lies, conspiracy theories really took the focus off of what was the most important thing, and that was the people of Maui, she said on a CBS Mornings appearance. I was on the ground talking to lots of people trying to figure out how do I best help. Now the 2 celebrities thought about how they have both given to charity their whole lives and felt like starting with $10 million worked because it was enough to kick things off before opening the Maui Wildfires Fund up to people who wanted to help but didn't know how to. I was so excited about it. Then I got up the next morning and saw all this vitriol, and I was like, whoa, what happened here, she said. But yeah, people were angry, which again, I honestly don't blame them for. One person on TikTok called their video tone deaf, while another said, we can't afford it, but you can. And Oprah has also been called out recently for how she's treated her guests on her show, and one that stands out a lot is Michael Jackson. According to Oprah's website, 90 million people watched her February 1993 live primetime interview with Michael Jackson. It was his first interview in 14 years, and he used the opportunity to dispel rumors and explain the changes in his lifestyle and appearance. Michael said that his noticeable and gradually lightening skin wasn't the result of cosmetic and elective skin bleaching, but the effect of a genetic skin disease called vitiligo. Now he also opened up about the mistreatment he suffered as a child at the hands of his father and former manager Joe Jackson, but one thing Michael refused to discuss with Oprah was his love life. He claimed to be dating Brooke Shields, and Oprah flat out asked him some very personal questions. I'm a gentleman, that's something that's private, he said. You can call me old-fashioned if you want, but to me that's very personal. Oprah then sensationalized a legal proceeding that Michael was going through, and his brother Randy Jackson came out and claimed that Oprah was airing episodes related to his brother's trial in 2005 to make him look bad in the public eye. Randy said that he believed that Oprah wanted to see Michael in jail, and apparently when Michael saw this, it was the last straw. It was then made clear that she could not and would not be trusted again. But after Michael passed away, Oprah was given access to Michael's former home after being granted an interview with his mother Catherine and his 3 children. Many people in the Jackson family were aware of Michael's distrust in Oprah, and they didn't want this interview to happen, and they especially disapproved of Oprah being allowed to film inside his home and conduct his kids' first interview ever, as Michael didn't like them being in the public eye. A source said Janet Jackson is furious. She thinks Oprah took advantage of Michael's children for TV ratings. Janet told her Michael would be heartsick that Oprah used his kids as pawns, they said to the National Enquirer at the time. The 2 women had a blistering blow-up during a telephone call on the day that the show was taped. When Oprah made it clear that she was going ahead with the interview, Janet screamed, "Oprah, you make me sick." Now other family members of Michael have spoken out about their disdain for Oprah, and it seemed like Oprah was just trying to be an opportunist and didn't really care about anyone's feelings.
Rose McGowan called Oprah Winfrey as fake as they come in a scathing Twitter post over Oprah's friendship with Harvey W. So she took to Twitter to speak out against the popular talk show host, sharing a photo of Oprah kissing the disgraced Hollywood producer on the cheek. Now the photo of the pair was taken at the 2014 Critics' Choice Movie Awards, so about 10 years ago. Rose McGowan is a very outspoken activist, and she accused Harvey of wrongdoing, and she accompanied that photo with the caption reading, "I am glad more are seeing the ugly truth of Oprah. I wish she were real, but she isn't." From being pals with Harvey to abandoning and destroying Russell Simmons' victims, she's about supporting a sick power structure for personal gain. She is as fake as they come. #a lizard. Now, Simmons, who was a hip-hop music mogul, was accused of more than a dozen cases of misconduct since November of 2017, and he responded by admitting inappropriate conduct in some instances, but did dispute the allegations of non-consensual interactions. Nevertheless, still not somebody you want to be friends with, and as you're about to learn with Oprah, it's gonna happen a lot. Not a lot of people usually quote-unquote feud with Oprah, at least not publicly, which is why it was kind of jarring to see Taraji P. Henson speak out about the disrespect she faced on the set of The Color Purple, a film where Oprah was an executive producer.
I'm just tired of working so hard, being gracious at what I do, getting paid a fraction of the cost.
Taraji's comments sparked immediate rumblings of a feud between the two women, as well as a necessary conversation about the way black women in Hollywood are constantly disrespected and underpaid. While Oprah has claimed that there is no hatred between the women, there is certainly some kind of messiness. So back in December, Taraji told The Hollywood Reporter that she was fed up with the industry. She said she was sick of being underpaid, and she had been fighting tooth and nail every project to get that same frickin' quote. Later that month, Gayle King asked her about, the comments about retiring from acting, and the star got teary, saying, "I'm just tired of working so hard, being gracious at what I do, getting paid a fraction of the cost. I'm tired of hearing my sister say the same thing over and over. It seems like every time I break another glass ceiling, when it's time to renegotiate, I'm at the bottom again, like I never did what I just did." Now, after these comments went viral, Taraji sat down with the New York Times for a more in-depth interview. And in that interview, she spoke out about racism in Hollywood, pay inequality, and the unfair working conditions on sets like The Color Purple and Empire. That's where she revealed that she hasn't had a raise in her pay since 2018, when she worked on the action film Proud Mary, and it almost led her to walk away from The Color Purple. She said they don't care, they're always looking for a deal and trying to pay you the least amount. She talked about the cast being given rental cars and being asked to drive themselves to set in Atlanta, and when she asked for a driver, for safety reasons, she was told, "Well, if we do it for you, we gotta do it for everybody." And to that, she said, "Well then do it for everybody." She also spoke out about her time on Empire, during which she said she was fighting for trailers that weren't infested with bugs, and that should be basic human rights, folks.
See, when I speak about Oprah Winfrey, you've been unjust, and you watched a black woman be thrown under the bus, and you said nothing.
Back in March of 2010, Monique won the Best Supporting Actress Academy Award for her performance in Precious. And after that, she claimed she was blackballed in the entertainment industry, and has been for over a decade at the hands of media moguls such as Oprah Winfrey. So Oprah was the person who had an interview with one of Monique's family members just days after her big career accomplishment. Oprah sat down with the comedian's older brother, Gerald, who sadly was the person who harmed Monique growing up. It was reportedly the first time he had admitted his crimes, and he confessed to being a victim of the same actions by other family members. And a lot of folks online didn't take too well to this, saying Oprah needed to answer for this because interviewing Monique's brother after his historic Oscar win doesn't make sense. And it looked bad for Oprah. Other folks started to notice that Oprah definitely seemed to have like a mean, cold side around that, wondering why she was so mean to Monique. Monique said that Oprah crossed her on many different levels by doing that interview. Monique reached out to the mogul, but her efforts to communicate didn't really happen. So 3 years after that interview, she confronted Oprah at a celebration party for Lupita Nyong'o when she got the Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress. So she said, and I quote, "Oprah was sitting on my right, and then I turned to her and said, 'Now I need to talk to you.' And she said, 'You could hear a pin drop. Since you didn't want to return my calls for whatever reason, I'm going to say this right here.' And she asked point blank why Oprah invited her parents on the show, even though she wasn't really talking with her parents at the time. And Oprah claimed to have no idea that the entire family was showing up, supposedly stating, and I quote, 'Oh, I didn't know anything about that.' Okay, Oprah. Sure." And she added on, "If I had done anything to offend you, I apologize. You're telling me that the mogul who built her entire empire at the expense of exploiting people didn't know that she was doing this? Sure." Janet Jackson's beef with Oprah is pretty personal when you compare it to some of the other folks we'll talk about today. So while Janet herself was okay with doing interviews with Oprah, she was kind of horrified when her brother's offspring were called on the show. She saw this as Oprah using Michael's family as a means to boost her ratings. And there are sources that reported that there was an intense conversation between Janet and Oprah, and this caused a lasting feud between the two billionaires because Janet was horrified that Oprah was exploiting Michael's family just for views. During an appearance on the Jamie Kern Lima podcast earlier this year, Oprah talked about being body shamed by Joan Rivers. Now, to be fair, Joan Rivers wasn't exactly known for being cuddly, she was known for being controversial, but I digress. So this particular moment happened during Oprah's first appearance on The Tonight Show back in 1985. She had been invited on to discuss the huge popularity of her show AM Chicago, which was kind of, beating then ratings juggernaut Phil Donahue. The star said, however, that it wasn't long before the topic of discussion turned to her body. She said, and I quote, "Joan Rivers turns to me and and then she says, "Tell me why you're so fat." And it's like, okay, yeah, that's a bit of a controversial statement, but back in the day, wasn't unheard of. And Oprah was like, this was on national television, and I didn't know what to do with that. So I just did like, oh, I love potato chips, Joan. And she went on to recall that Joan had replied, "Shame on you." And at the time, Oprah said like she agreed with Joan. And Joan was like, I'll let you come back if you lose 15 pounds. You need to lose 15 pounds. And Oprah was like, I just couldn't believe that she said that to me on national television. She accepted it though. She said, I accept that I should be shamed because how dare me be sitting up here on the Tonight Show. So she and Joan agreed that Oprah was gonna go away and lose 15 pounds. And of course, Oprah was like, I didn't lose the 15 pounds. I went and ate my way to another 10 pounds. Oprah explained that she went to a health retreat in order to lose the weight, explaining that at the time, retreats were just called fat farms. But while she was at that retreat, she received a phone call from Color Purple director Steven Spielberg, who warned her against losing the weight. He said, I hear you're at a fat camp. You lose a pound, you could lose this part. So Oprah said she finally let go of the part when she got the call. She said, the instant I let it go was the greatest life lesson I have ever received because I physically felt the release. And well, as we all know, Oprah did end up landing the role of Sophia in Spielberg's film, which earned her an Academy Award nomination. Oprah came under fire back in 2021 for an interview that resurfaced from 2004, where she asked Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen what clothing size they were. So at the time of the interview, rumors had been circulating that Mary-Kate was suffering from an eating disorder. And later that year, the actress turned fashion designer did spend time in a facility to receive treatment for a health-related issue. But Oprah said, and I quote, I know in a rumor that's recently surfaced that's really upset you, right? You know, the one about eating. And then Ashley was quick to speak up to defend her sister, saying, yeah, you know, people are gonna write what they're gonna write. We try not to read the good or the bad because it just comes with the territory. Either you're too fat, too skinny, and people are just gonna write what they... And then Oprah interrupted, being like, well, what size are you, by the way? And you could see Mary-Kate and Ashley both looking very uncomfortable. And Ashley tried to play it off, being like, oh, size? Like, oh, we're just both petite. And Oprah wasn't letting it go. She was like, oh, that's so interesting. And the audience was laughing. Like, I'm obsessed with my size, and you're like, I don't really know. And the girls piped up being like, well, like, if we were obsessed with our size, it'd be like, I guess, I don't know, a different story. Poor things. People don't usually feud with Oprah, at least not publicly. So that's why it was kind of jarring to see Taraji P. Henson speak out about the disrespect that she faced on the set of The Color Purple, a film where Oprah was an executive producer. Henson's comments sparked immediate rumblings of a feud between the two women, as well as a necessary conversation about the way black women in Hollywood are constantly disrespected and underpaid. While Oprah has claimed that there is no hatred between the two, there's definitely some kind of mess and some kind of drama. So back in December, Taraji told the Hollywood Reporter that she was fed up with the industry. She said she was sick of being underpaid and that she had been fighting tooth and nail every project to get the same freaking quote. Later that month, Gayle King asked her about, when she said she wanted to retire from acting, and the star got teary, saying she was just tired of working so hard, being gracious at what she does, getting paid a fraction of the cost. She's tired of hearing her sister say the same thing over and over. She said that every time when she thinks she's breaking another glass ceiling, when it's time to renegotiate, she feels like she's at the bottom again, like she never did what she just did. After her comments went viral, she sat down with the New York Times for a more in-depth interview, and in it she spoke out about racism in Hollywood, pay inequality, and the unfair working conditions on sets like The Color Purple and Empire. She said she hasn't had a raise in her pay since her work in 2018, and it almost led her to walk away from The Color Purple. She said they don't care. They're always looking for a deal and trying to pay you the least amount. The actress mentioned how the cast was given rental cars and was asked to drive themselves to set in Atlanta, and when she asked for a driver, she was apparently told, well, if we do it for you, we gotta do it for everybody. And she said, well, do it for everybody. She spoke about her time on Empire, during which she said she was fighting for trailers that weren't infested with bugs, which, I'm sorry, that should be basic human rights. In terms of contemporary American talk show hosts, Oprah Winfrey and David Letterman are two of the biggest names of all time. For the longest time, their shows were a place where the most influential figures in popular culture felt comfortable enough to throw off the cloak of privacy and be more candid about their lives than ever before.
Ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor, please welcome Oprah Winfrey.
This is the worst Super Bowl party ever.
Now, Dave, be nice.
He's just saying that because I'm here.
Oh, he's just saying that because I'm here.
However, although they were both masters at conducting interviews, for a long time the pair were locked in a strange rivalry that had everybody else perplexed. The two had a feud that lasted more than 2 decades, with Oprah refusing to speak to Letterman whenever they bumped into each other. According to an account in the Huffington Post, it all started when Oprah appeared on The Late Show with David Letterman back in 1989, and for her it was an uncomfortable experience to say the least. The crowd was angry. because the night before she'd hosted a TV show about devil worshipping, which was a complete disaster due to the outlandish claims of some of her guests that she seemed to entertain, including one deranged woman called Rachel. So when she was on Letterman, the crowd was so heated that one guest was like, "Rip her, Dave." Now, later on, Letterman explained why he felt Oprah was so angry with him. He said, "I think she resented the fact that I didn't rise to the occasion and, knock out the guy, which I probably should have, but it was completely out of control and didn't know what I was doing." Admittedly, the late night talk show host did not help matters, as afterwards he would make quips about Winfrey's feelings towards him and exaggerate the situation. Letterman even claimed he was ill because he ate clams at her restaurant, The Eccentric. Letterman made things worse in 1995 by tearing into Oprah during his duties as the Academy Awards host, saying, "I've been dying to do something all day, and I think maybe we can take care of this," before introducing Oprah and one of the biggest stars of the day, Pulp Fiction star Uma Thurman. "Oprah, Uma, Uma, Oprah," he quipped with their names before adding, "I feel much better. Have you folks met Keanu?" Now, despite Letterman being rude, Oprah's real hatred started years earlier in a different moment from her appearance on his show back in 1989. Speaking with Jon Stewart in 2010, Letterman explained that Oprah hated him after he left her with his bill at a restaurant they were both eating in. So apparently that predated the Academy Awards. Apparently she was out for food with Stedman, her partner, and Letterman was with his then girlfriend Regina. They were both at a restaurant having lunch, and he was like, "Oh, this is hilarious. I'm gonna make Oprah buy us lunch." So when time came to pay the bill, Letterman told the waiter, "Oh, this woman right over there has been kind enough to take care of our check." And the duo waved to Oprah as they left the premises. He's like, "We got a free lunch," and that's where it started. It looks like they're buddy-buddy now, but still, I feel like there's some tension still behind the scenes. Toni Braxton took aim at Oprah in a TV expose, alleging the TV titan was mean to her during a 1998 interview about the singer's financial problems. The R&B star insists the TV chat severely damaged her reputation after the host made some choice remarks about her overspending, which led Braxton to declare bankruptcy. In a taped interview with VH1 for a Behind the Music special, the singer said, "She was so freaking mean to me, I was in shock. She said, 'I hear you have Gucci flatware.' I'm Oprah Winfrey and I don't have Gucci flatware." And Toni was like, "Well, you didn't have Gucci flatware because you didn't want to buy it. It's not because you can afford it." But Toni said, Oprah made me feel this big, which, she deserves better. Janet Jackson's beef with Oprah Winfrey is a lot more personal than some of the other entries I've talked about today. So when Janet Jackson was keen on her interview with the talk show host, she was horrified when her brother's descendants were called on the show. Janet saw this as Oprah using Michael's family as a means to boost her ratings. And there are sources that reported that there was an intense conversation between Janet and Oprah, one that has created a lasting feud between the two billionaires. Back in March of 2010, Monique won the Best Supporting Actress Academy Award for her performance in Precious. Since then, she has opened up about what she said was her being blackballed in the entertainment industry for nearly a decade at the hands of media moguls such as Oprah Winfrey. So Oprah is the same talk show host who had an interview with one of Monique's family members just days after her big career accomplishment. Oprah sat down with the comedian's older brother, Gerald, who sadly harmed Monique growing up. Now, this was reportedly the first time he had admitted to his crimes, and he also confessed to being a victim of the same actions by other family members. Somebody said that Oprah needs to answer for this, because interviewing Monique's brother after her historic Oscar win, this doesn't make sense. Plus, it's starting to look bad for Oprah. Somebody else said that Oprah definitely seems like she has a mean, cold side. I just wonder why she was so mean to Monique. Monique said Oprah crossed her on so many different levels. She said that she reached out to the OWN creator, but her efforts to communicate didn't happen. 3 years after the interview, she confronted Oprah at a celebration party for Lupita Nyong'o, which was in honor of Lupita's Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress. Oprah was sitting on my right, she said, and then I turned to her and said, "Now I need to talk to you." And apparently you could hear a pin drop. Monique said, "Since you didn't want to return my calls for whatever reason, I'm going to say this right here." She asked Oprah why she invited her parents on the show, due to their severed relationship at the time, and Oprah said, "Oh, I had no idea the entire family was showing up." She's like, "I didn't know anything about that." And she added, "Oh, if I did anything to offend you, I apologize," which is like such a non-apology apology.
I start seeing commercials with my mother. We never talked about my mother being there. How would you feel?
Betrayed.
That is exactly how I felt.
And thanks to Oprah's weakness for theories that veer towards the decidedly out there, her legacy has been undeniably tarnished. So sure, she did endorse plenty of credible things in her heyday. Barack Obama, John Steinbeck's East of Eden, which became a bestseller after being featured on her show, which was like 51 years after it was published. But on the other hand, we have Oprah to blame for the rise of, Jenny McCarthy, who had her theory that vaccinations cause bad things on the show back in 2007, and she's been repeatedly cited as a factor in the return of diseases in the States. You've got Dr. Oz, the Turkish-American heart surgeon, first appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show in 2004 and quickly became part of Oprah's team of experts who regularly appeared on the show. And he dispenses with facts he doesn't find convenient. He manifests an egregious lack of integrity by promoting quack treatments and cures in the interest of personal financial gain. According to experts, he's more like a Kardashian than a surgeon.
Now, Michael Jackson's siblings have a strong hatred for Oprah. Randy Jackson called out the star multiple times. Now, after Oprah interviewed their parents, Joe and Katherine Jackson, in October 2010, Randy was reportedly furious. After the interview, Randy tweeted, "I know how Oprah feels about my brother and family." He claimed that Oprah was airing episodes related to his brother's trial in 2005 to make him look bad in the public eye. Randy said that he believed that Oprah wanted to see Michael in jail. Now, apparently, when Michael saw Oprah do this, it was the last straw. It was then made clear that she could not and would not be trusted again. That was no coincidence. She's the last person on earth Michael would want around his children, Randy said. Then Janet Jackson aired out her grievances with Oprah in 2010. That year, Oprah was given access to Michael's former home after being granted an interview with Katherine and his 3 children. Now, many people in the Jackson family were aware of Michael's distrust in Oprah and didn't want the interview to go through. They especially disapproved of Oprah being allowed to film inside his home and conduct his kids' first interview, as Michael didn't like them being in the public eye. A source said, "Janet is furious. She thinks Oprah took advantage of Michael's children for TV ratings." Janet later told her Michael would be heartsick that Oprah used his kids as pawns, they said to the National Enquirer at the time. The 2 women had a blistering blow-up during a telephone call on the day the show was taped. When Oprah made it clear that she was going ahead with the interview, Janet screamed, "Oprah, you make me sick." Which, hey, I can't blame her for. Oprah seems like a total opportunist and just wants the best story, and she doesn't really care about people's feelings and how her actions will affect them. I mean, we've seen it time and time again, and Janet and Randy didn't want their family to be pawns anymore. Now later, when Oprah did an interview with Michael's alleged victims, Michael's brother Jermaine tweeted, "So many in media, including Oprah, blindly taking Leaving Neverland at face value, shaping a narrative uninterested in facts, proof, credibility. We face similar graphic claims plus trial by media in 2005. Jury saw through all of it. Trial by law proved Michael's innocence long ago. Fact." Now, it's safe to say that the Jackson family does not like her at all, and I mean, take a look at this clip from an interview Michael did with Oprah. He clearly doesn't care for her.
We were here before.
Now, Joan Rivers also wasn't a fan of Oprah. I mean, she fat-shamed Oprah on The Tonight Show in 1985 during Oprah's first ever national TV appearance. Now, Oprah recalled the incident in her book Food, Health, and Happiness, writing, "It was all going smoothly, I was starting to settle in, and then it happened. Joan interrupted with perhaps the only question I hadn't prepared for, so how'd you gain the weight? Wait a minute, did she just use my national television debut to ask me why I was so fat? The studio started spinning. The word fat reverberated in my brain." Oprah continued, "Joan sat behind Johnny's big wooden desk telling me that she didn't want to hear any excuses and that I shouldn't have let this happen. She wagged her flawlessly manicured finger at me, pointed out that I was still a single girl, and challenged me to come back 15 pounds lighter next time she hosted." Now, it seems like Joan did this on purpose to embarrass Oprah though, as a source told the National Enquirer that Joan loathed Oprah, allegedly calling her completely opportunistic, and according to one insider, Joan says Oprah is the biggest phony in the world. She feels Oprah's real gift is exploiting people's suffering and emotions and turning them into TV ratings. Now, I gotta say, I agree with Joan on that part, but her calling Oprah fat on live TV wasn't the best thing to do. Actress Monique also had a feud with Oprah. Leading up to her film Precious's premiere, which Monique won an Oscar for by the way, Oprah interviewed Monique's brother Gerald, who mistreated her growing up. Monique, in a since-deleted Periscope video, claimed she gave Oprah her blessing to conduct the interview, but was shocked and horrified when Oprah had her and Gerald's parents in the show's audience for the piece. In May 2010, a source told Radar Online, Monique has decided to forgive Oprah and to move on, although the interview hurt her to her heart, but she's still not forgiven her family, and unfortunately the grudge could now go to the grave because her parents, Stephen and Alice, are getting older now. She feels that her parents have never fully accepted Gerald's role in what happened. But later in 2015, Monique claimed powerful people blackballed her in Hollywood and hinted that Oprah was to blame. "Thank you, Miss Oprah Winfrey," she said during a comedy performance. Now, Monique also recalled an incident that happened with the film's producer in 2015. She said, "I got a phone call from Lee Daniels and he said to me, 'Monique, you've been blackballed.' And I said, 'I've been blackballed. Why have I been blackballed?' And he said, 'Because you didn't play the game.' So that, combined with what Oprah did, was not a good mix. Then there's Ludacris. He called out Oprah after he appeared on her show to promote Crash in 2004. He claimed that she ambushed him with criticism about hip-hop lyrics instead of talking about the critically acclaimed movie that he was there to plug. He also said that the interview was edited to make her look good and for him to look bad. He spoke about this with GQ and said, "She edited out a lot of my comments while keeping her own in. Of course, it's her show, but we were doing a show on racial discrimination, and she gave me a hard time as a rapper when I came on there as an actor." He added, "Initially, I wasn't even invited on the show, and they called the night before to tell me I could be on. So after taping, she pulled me into a room and we had a 5-minute conversation. What I got was that by having rappers on her show, she feels like she's empowering them. It was like being at someone's house who doesn't really want you there. It was already uncomfortable." He then added that she criticized him for using the N-word in his lyrics. "I don't see why people like Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle, who I'm huge fans of, it's okay for them to go on Oprah," he said. "They speak the same language as I do, but they do it through comedy, so I guess that's acceptable to her." Yeah, with all that happening, I don't blame him for calling her out. And finally, there was a time when Oprah attacked the Olsen twins. In 2004, Mary-Kate and Ashley were guests on the Oprah Winfrey Show, and Mary-Kate had been hounded by the press about her weight, with intense media speculation that the star was suffering from an eating disorder. Now, on the show, Oprah says, "I know there's been a rumor that's recently surfaced that's really upset you." Mary-Kate and Ashley were both clearly taken aback by the question, and a tense moment of silence followed, by Oprah saying, "You know, the one about eating." Mary-Kate was completely thrown by the line of questioning that she looked almost on the verge of tears, and Ashley, her sister, jumped in to rescue her. "Yeah, you know, people are gonna write what they're gonna write," they say. Now, after some awkward back and forth, Oprah asked the Olsen twins what dress size they are, and they reacted uncomfortably by saying, "I don't know." It was obvious that question about their body was uncomfortable, but Oprah still pushed. When they said they weren't sure, Oprah hit back sarcastically saying, "Oh, you're not sure? That's so interesting." Now, later that same year that the Oprah interview aired, Mary-Kate checked into a rehab facility to seek treatment for a food-related health disorder. All I gotta say though is Oprah should be ashamed of asking that, as it probably fueled Mary-Kate's problem.
On air, Oprah was portrayed as this wholesome, sweet lady, but according to her stepmom, there's an unknown side to Oprah, one that she hid from her fans for, well, years. So according to Barbara, Oprah is one of the most controlling people you will ever meet. She claimed that when, she wanted to come and visit, Oprah was like, "No, you're not staying at my house. You're gonna stay in a hotel, and I'm not paying for that. You better pay for that yourself." Also, apparently Oprah was quick to anger when it came to her staff, with a lot of folks being fired left and right over the years for, well, no reason. But here's the thing. Even though Oprah doesn't let Barbara stay in her house, despite being a billionaire who could afford to stay in a hotel, when Oprah goes to visit Barbara, Barbara allows her to stay at home. Which, Oprah's like, I guess. Apparently the first time Oprah stayed over at Barbara's, she allegedly complained that her bed sheets were not 1,000 threads and that her bath towels weren't big enough. Look lady, you've got how much money? You could bring your own towels, your own bed sheets if you really wanted. You don't have to make your family feel like a burden just because it's not up to your standards. Thanks to Oprah's weakness for theories that kind of veered towards the decidedly out there, her legacy isn't exactly spotless. Sure, on one hand, she has endorsed plenty of credible things in her heyday. Barack Obama, John Steinbeck's East of Eden, which became a bestseller after being featured on the Oprah Winfrey Show in 2003, like a whole 51 years after it was published. But But on the other hand, we have Oprah to blame, and I mean blame, for the rise of former actor Jenny McCarthy, who first said her opinion that vaccinations cause autism on the Oprah Winfrey Show in 2007 to disastrous effect. McCarthy has since been repeatedly cited as a factor in the return of diseases such as whooping cough in the US. Another one, Dr. Oz, the famed Turkish-American heart surgeon, first appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show in 2004 and quickly became, along with, Phil McGraw and Rachel Ray, part of Oprah's team of experts who regularly appear on the show. Now, Oz dispenses with facts he doesn't find convenient and manifests an egregious lack of integrity by promoting quack treatments and cures in the interest of personal financial gain. He's more like a Kardashian than a surgeon, according to some of his critics, which includes many of his colleagues, who argue that Oz's endorsement under a medical banner of certain remedies, ranging from the pseudoscientific to the downright kooky, is immoral. Now, he has argued that the Dr. Oz show was not a medical show. So, in other words, he seemed to be saying people would be better off taking medical advice from Dr. Pepper than from Dr. Oz. Alright, well, give me a can. The legend of Oprah Winfrey as an extremely poor girl growing up without a father, a too young mother who, Oprah claimed, carried with shame during pregnancy and then neglected her, spread like wildfire when Oprah began giving interviews in Chicago. She was like, oh, how they harmed me. I wanted to be white because I never saw white people being hurt. Now, she remembered her early years as lonely. She didn't play with anybody except for the pigs she rode without a saddle in her grandmother's garden. She mentioned, verbatim, the only thing I could talk to was the animals in the farmyard. I read them Bible stories. Apparently the years spent with a mother on welfare were even worse. They were so poor they couldn't afford a dog or a cat, so she had 2 cockroaches as pets. She put them in a jar, named them Melinda and Sandy, and she entertained her audiences with stories about fetching water from the well, milking cows, emptying the drinking pot. A fairy tale, really. She told stories about a grandmother who swung a switch, a grandfather who was quick with a stick, the people who raised her for the earliest years of life. She mentioned, oh, they harmed me. Oh, I wanted to be white. She mentioned this repeatedly, folks. She mentioned that her grandmother used to harm her all the time because allegedly it's an integral part of Southern tradition. The way folks were raised. You spill something, you get a thrashing. You tell a story, you get a thrashing. She mentioned that her grandmother could have done that all the time and not get tired. Well, here's the thing. Not everybody in Oprah's family agreed with this desperate upbringing. Her mother, Vernita Lee, when asked about her daughter's habits of self-dramatization, said, yeah, Oprah's a bit of a cold smoker. And Oprah's sister later dispelled the myth of immense poverty. Patricia said, of course we weren't rich, but Oprah exaggerated how bad it was for us. She guesses that Oprah did this because the viewers would love her, the audience would grow. But she's like, cockroaches were never her pet. She always had a dog. She had a white cat. She had an eel in a tank, a parakeet named Bo Peep, who she taught to speak. Where Oprah got that nonsense about growing up in filth and roaches, I have no idea. That was another statement made by her cousin, Catherine Carr. She's mentioned that she's confronted her. She asked, Oprah, why do you tell such lies? And Oprah allegedly said, that's what people want to hear. The truth is boring. Well, I don't know about you, but I just want to know the truth. So Oprah has been recently called out for using weight loss medication, despite being a long-time ambassador for Weight Watchers. Seriously. They're kind of synonymous. The famous talk show host has confirmed she uses an unnamed substance to help control her weight. In a revealing chat, Oprah said her latest slim figure is thanks to the medication and a healthier lifestyle overall. She's like, I now use it as I feel I need it, and she mentioned the fact that there's a medically approved prescription for managing weight and staying healthier in her lifetime feels like a relief, like redemption, like a gift, and not something to hide behind and once again be ridiculed for. In a conversation with People magazine, Oprah concluded, I'm absolutely done with the shaming from other people and particularly myself. However, some fans felt the billionaire philanthropist was feeling hypocritical. Once again, given she is a proud spokesperson for Weight Watchers. She's worked with them since 2017, if not before that. One social media user wrote, what I don't like about Oprah is she is clearly doing Ozempic, but yet she's still pushing Weight Watchers. And another person was like, okay, done with the shaming, but okay with lying. Others called out the star for letting folks believe she did it the old-fashioned way, asking once again, the party line for today, Oprah, why are you lying? So here's the thing. Confidentiality agreements are not uncommon in the world of Hollywood. Take Marvel for example. If you say something, if you leak a single line, a single name, game over for you. Poor Tom Holland. So in Kitty Kelly's tell-all book about Oprah, the author mentioned the confidentiality agreements that anybody who was going to appear on Oprah's show or work on her show were made to sign. So we're talking let's say Tom Cruise is on the show. He's going to sign one. If you make Tom Cruise a muffin and you're within the vicinity of the show, you've got to sign one. So think about all the people over the years that have had to sign this. We're talking like over 500 people. So one former employee, Elizabeth Cody, tried to write a book about her time working for Oprah, but she was stopped by the courts, still being tied to the agreement she signed. So the NDAs were not just meant to be a way to keep, the show secrets safe, but all of Oprah's personal secrets. So according to Elizabeth, if you were anywhere in Oprah's life, you had to sign one of those. And Oprah was like, hey, I feel kind of, restrained after signing the paperwork. She's not the only one. In 2010, Unicus Performance Training filed a lawsuit against Oprah and her company Harpo, claiming they never got paid for a workout program they were developing. UPT said Harpo fired them for violating the terms of their confidentiality agreement, after UPT sent out a mass email promoting their upcoming appearance on Oprah's radio show. Well, turns out, according to the confidentiality agreement, UPT wasn't allowed to use Harpo's name, Oprah.com's name, or Oprah's name for any advertising or promotional purposes. Unless, of course, they wanted to get the axe, even though they were literally just promoting their appearance on her show. In August of 2023, a series of wildfires devastated the Hawaiian island of Maui. Good old Oprah Winfrey teamed up with fellow Hollywood heavyweight Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson to launch the People's Fund of Maui for residents with an initial donation of $10 million. The fiery disaster caused about 100 lives to be lost and $5.5 billion worth of damage. Around 12,000 people were displaced. Now Oprah, who owns property on 1,000 acres of land in Maui, and The Rock, whose family lineage comes from the neighboring South Pacific Samoan Islands, have faced a lot of criticism over the last year. So their initial statement was they'd been meeting with community leaders for a couple of weeks, they were trying to figure out what to do, and they mentioned this in August of 2023. The Rock added, in this time of need, you want to take care of the greatest need of the people, and that's giving them money. It's going to take a little time to rebuild, it'll get a little worse before it gets a bit better, but we're here doing what we can do. So, Oprah's recent appearance at the Democratic National Convention on August 21st kind of reignited questions about how the money allotted for the Hawaiian people was being dispersed. There was an account on Twitter that went viral on August 28th, claiming that Oprah donated $150 million to the Kamala Harris campaign. And while Oprah did endorse Kamala for president, folks were like, hey, so where's all this money going?
Starting off with the most recent event is her Maui Fund. Dwayne Johnson and Oprah Winfrey launched the People's Fund of Maui, a fund intended to put money directly into the hands of adults displaced by the deadly wildfires that had ripped through Hawaii in August 2023. According to the pair's Instagram post, every adult resident who was displaced by the fires was eligible to receive $1,200 each month from the fund. Now, the pair noted that they had kicked off the campaign with $10 million in donations and asked others to help by contributing further. After announcing the fund, the pair then drew criticism from some people on social media who questioned why they were not contributing more of their personal wealth. One person on TikTok called their video tone deaf, and some commenters questioned why the pair, as wealthy celebrities, were asking others to give instead of donating more themselves. "We can't afford it, but you can," one person commented on their video on TikTok. Others questioned why the appeal for donations was being directed at the general public rather than their fellow stars with more financial means. "This is disgusting. Ask other celebrities, not people who are living paycheck to paycheck," another person said. Now, how did Oprah respond to this? Well, she made it worse. In an interview on CBS Mornings, Oprah said that she felt she had been terrorized and vilified online. Then there were the many times that she exploited her guests. Now, one of the most prolific examples of this is when a young Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen were on the show. At the time the interview took place, Mary-Kate had been hounded by the press about her weight, with intense media speculation that the star was suffering from an eating disorder. Oprah, knowing this was a touchy subject, brought it up anyways. In the interview, she says, "I know there's been a rumor that has recently surfaced that's really upset you." Now, Mary-Kate and Ashley were both clearly taken aback by the question, and a tense moment of silence followed by Oprah saying, "You know, the one about eating." Mary-Kate was so thrown by the line of questioning, she looked almost on the verge of tears, and Ashley jumped in to rescue her. "Yeah, you know, people are gonna write what they're gonna write," she says. Now, after some awkward back and forth, Oprah asked the Olsen twins what dress size they are, and they reacted uncomfortable by saying, "I don't know," and it was obvious that the questions about their body was uncomfortable. But Oprah still pushed. When they said they weren't sure, Oprah hit back sarcastically saying, "Oh, you're not sure? That's so interesting." Another time she's been called out for not being sensitive was when she did an interview she did with Dolly Parton in 2003 that has resurfaced, with people questioning the star and her interview tactics. Some people have questioned about what Oprah was asking Dolly, how she was asking, and what exactly her goal was by probing for personal information. In the first video, Oprah asked Dolly how she's able to look so good for her age, and Dolly gives a funny answer. Now Oprah presses her harder though, noting that Dolly has been open about having cosmetic work done. It seems like Oprah was trying to have a gotcha moment to throw Dolly off and make her uncomfortable, but Dolly just rolls with the punches and admits to it. Dolly even says she'll probably continue going under the knife, and some people are pointing out that Oprah looks disappointed that Dolly flipped it in her favor. A second clip from that same interview popped up as well, and Oprah dives right into a heavy subject, saying she heard Dolly fell into a huge depression at age 40. She doesn't really approach the topic with any sensitivity, and that's rubbed people the wrong way. Then there's the strange people she's had on her show. In 2007, Oprah brought Jenny McCarthy, the Playboy model and actress, onto her show to talk about autism. Jenny's young son, Evan, had suffered a series of seizures when he was young and was later diagnosed with autism. Jenny was then adamant that vaccinations Evan received caused his autism. Now Oprah gave her story a platform and unwittingly started the panic we know today. During that interview, Oprah never challenged Jenny's views either, and Jenny had no scientific evidence to back this claim up. Then, if you didn't know, Oprah has a book club, and she added James Frey's book A Million Little Pieces to the reading list. Now, when James was promoting his books on talk shows or other media outlets, it was referred to as a memoir. But large parts of the story were later found to be exaggerated or fabricated, sparking a media controversy. Now, this was discovered after an investigation was conducted by the Smoking Gun. They determined that James had actually fictionalized some of his story, and controversy arose after Oprah initially defended the book, but she later confronted James on her show. I mean, at least she did her research about the book, but her helping spread misinformation is truly dangerous, and she hasn't taken a lot of accountability. And of course, we have to mention her scandal in South Africa. When the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls opened in Johannesburg in 2007, Nelson Mandela, Tina Turner, Sidney Poitier, Spike Lee, and Oprah herself attended the ribbon-cutting ceremony celebrating the landmark boarding school founded with $40 million of Oprah's money. But less than a year later, 6 of the 152 students who had been personally selected by Oprah to attend the institution came forward to accuse dorm matron Virginia Tiny McGabo of mistreating them. She was then arrested in November 2007 and released on bail, and she faced 14 different charges. "It has shaken me to my core," Oprah said of returning to South Africa with a team of private detectives to investigate the allegations and to personally speak with the girls. "This has been one of the most devastating, if not the most devastating, experiences of my life." Now, it seems like she and the organization did not look into who they were hiring and how the operation was running. Now, this all could have been avoided. Now, following the first trial, Oprah was sued by the headmistress of the school for defamation. She alleged that Oprah defamed her by implying she was covering up the mistreatment going on at the school. However, the case was later settled outside of court before the arranged trial, according to CNN. Now, that's not all that happened here though, as speculation of numerous missing girls from the academy spread like wildfire across social media. However, the validity of these statements has not been confirmed or denied.
Oprah Winfrey paid a fortune to Apple TV Plus chiefs to buy back the rights to a documentary about her life. Apple announced with great fanfare in 2021 that Oscar-winning filmmaker Kevin McDonald would be directing the documentary about the talk show host turned media mogul. However, sources say that McDonald, who teamed up with Winfrey's longtime producer Lisa Esprimer on the project, had clashed with the billionaire after he finished the film, and it's been on hold ever since. Kevin made the film, but Oprah didn't like it and he refused to change it, and Oprah has paid back her fee to Apple, at least according to a well-placed Hollywood source. While industry sources speculate Oprah would have to pay millions to get the rights to the documentary back, a source in the know denies that it was 7 figures. But here's the thing. Oprah's documentary is not the first high-profile release to be put on ice. Netflix's years-in-the-making Prince documentary is being held hostage due to objections from the 7-time Grammy winner's estate. Looks like documentary making isn't exactly profitable these days. Oprah's been rightfully called out for using weight loss medication, despite being a long-time ambassador for Weight Watchers. The famous public figure has confirmed she uses an unnamed substance to help control her weight. This was in a revealing chat, and she said her new slim figure is thanks to the medication and a healthier lifestyle overall. She says, "I now use it as I feel I need it, as a tool to manage not yo-yoing." She added that the fact that there's a medically approved prescription for managing weight and staying healthier in my lifetime feels like a relief, like redemption, like a gift, not something to hide behind and once again be ridiculed for. In a conversation with People magazine, she concluded that she's absolutely done with the shaming from other people and particularly herself. But here's the thing, a lot of folks and a lot of fans feel like the billionaire philanthropist is being hypocritical. Once again, given she is a proud spokesperson for Weight Watchers. She's worked at that company since 2017. One social media user wrote, "What I don't like about Oprah is she is clearly off doing Ozempic, but yet she's still pushing Weight Watchers." Another was like, "Done with shaming but okay with lying." And a lot of folks called her out, and rightfully so, for letting them believe she did it the old-fashioned way. And they're like, "Why'd you lie?" Well, I can tell you why. The legend of Oprah Winfrey as an extremely poor girl growing up without a father to a too-young mother who, as Oprah claimed, carried with shame during pregnancy and then neglected her, spread when Oprah began giving interviews in Chicago. She said, "Oh, how they harmed me. I wanted to be white because I never saw white people being hurt." That's what she said, folks. She remembered her early years as being lonely. She didn't play with anybody except for, I think, the pigs she rode without a saddle in her grandmother's garden. She said, "The only thing I could talk to was the animals in the farmyard. I read them Bible stories. And apparently the years spent with a mother on welfare were even worse. We were so poor we couldn't afford a dog or a cat, so I had 2 cockroaches as pets. I put them in a jar and named them Melinda and Sandy." She entertained her audiences with stories about fetching water from the well, milking cows, emptying the drinking pot, all pretty much a fairy tale. She told her stories about her grandmother who swung a switch, her grandfather who was mean with a stick, the people who raised her for the earliest years of her life. She said, "Oh, how they harmed me." And she mentioned like her grandmother would harm her all the time. It's an integral part of Southern tradition, the way folks raise people. You spill something, game over. You tell a story, game over. She said, "Oh, it could happen all day. Nobody would ever get tired." But here's the thing. Not everybody in Oprah's family agrees with this desperate upbringing. Her mother, Vernita Lee, when asked about her daughter's habits of self-dramatization, said, "Oprah's a bit of a cold smoker." Now, if you're confused there, don't worry. Oprah's sister later dispelled the myth of immense poverty. She said, well, of course we weren't rich, but Patricia said that Oprah exaggerated how bad it was for them. She guesses the viewers would love her, the audience would grow if she told these stories. Cockroaches were never her pet. She always had a dog. She had a white cat. She had an eel in a tank. She had a parakeet named Bo Peep that was, learning to speak. Where Oprah got that nonsense about growing up in filth and roaches, I have no idea, according to cousin Catherine Carr Esters. She said, "I've confronted her and asked, 'Why do you tell such lies?' And Oprah said, 'That's what people want to hear. The truth is boring.'" So on air, Oprah's portrayed as this wholesome, sweet lady, this big philanthropist. But according to her stepmother, there is an unknown side to Oprah. This was a side hidden from fans for years. According to Barbara, Oprah is one of the most controlling people you will ever meet. According to Barbara, Oprah would not allow the family to stay at her house when they tried to visit, forcing them instead to stay in hotels, paying out of pocket. Barbara also said that Oprah was quick to anger when it came to her staff, with quite a few people being fired left and right over the years. But that's not all. Despite being a billionaire, Barbara, by the way, allows Oprah to stay at her home for visits, and Oprah's not a fan. So confidentiality agreements are not uncommon in the world of Hollywood. Look, Marvel will literally have somebody take you out if even a single line leaks to the public. Well, in Kitty Kelly's tell-all book about Oprah, the author mentions the confidentiality agreements that coworkers and guest stars had to sign to be on any of her shows. So this was like everybody. We're talking like Tom Cruise to the person who made Tom's muffin. Over 500 staff members over time were forced to sign this document, if not more. One former employee, Elizabeth Cody, tried to write a book about her time working for Oprah. But then again, that NDA, because, well, you signed that agreement, game over. The NDAs were not meant to be a way to keep just show secrets safe, but any and all of Oprah's secrets as well. According to Elizabeth, the documents were signed by almost everybody in Oprah's life. So Elizabeth felt she was kind of being muzzled afterwards. And if you think this didn't extend to the guests, don't worry. In 2010, Unicus Performance Training filed a lawsuit against Oprah and her company Harpo, claiming they never got paid for a workout program they were developing, because Harpo fired them for violating the terms of their confidentiality agreement. How so? Well, UPT sent out a mass email promoting their upcoming appearance on Oprah's radio show, and according to the NDA, they weren't allowed to use Harpo's name, Oprah.com's name, or Oprah's name for advertising or promotional use. But they were just promoting their appearance on her show. They weren't saying anything like, hush hush. So Oprah has owned over 21 dogs throughout her lifetime, if we're not even counting the ones she allegedly had in her upbringing. But here's the thing, being a dog mom hasn't come without its challenges. At one point, 2 of the mogul's dogs were at odds for over a decade, leaving her frustrated as she tried to maintain peace in the house. She even created barriers to keep them from being in the same room. Thankfully, her relief came when she met Cesar Millan, the renowned dog whisperer, who transformed the household dynamic. He explained that her house was like maximum security because she had to separate the Cocker Spaniel, Sophie, and the Golden Retriever, Luke. Apparently, this was going on for 11 years. How did this happen? Well, Oprah's bond with Sophie was particularly deep. In 2011, she shared that one of her greatest teachers was Sophie. Sophie lived for 13 years and came to work with Oprah every day. She was there for every show, she was backstage at the Oscars and the Emmys. She even waited in the car if Oprah went to an appointment. She was so attached to Oprah that if Oprah even left her in a hotel room for 5 minutes, Sophie would start howling. She had separation anxiety, and it was really bad. There were so many times that Oprah thought she was going to get kicked out of hotels. Oprah has long been claimed to be a great charitable woman, and recently she's been, an outspoken advocate for the island of Maui. But here's the thing, when everything happened last year, she started a fund. She didn't really donate a lot of money. She was asking for you to give her your money to help everybody else. And a lot of folks were like, hey, why aren't people speaking up about this? Why aren't we calling Oprah out for being a phony? Folks were like, well, she's only really doing this because that's where her vacation home is. She doesn't actually care. Talk show queen Oprah revealed a bombshell family secret to her viewers in 2011, telling them that she had recently learned she had a half-sister whom her mother had hidden from her for decades. With the way the media works, Oprah said there was no way the story wouldn't eventually get out, so she and her family made the decision to do it on the show because she wanted her viewers to hear it from her first. She said, imagine my shock just a couple of months ago, the end of October, when I found out I have another sister living just 90 minutes away. So just before Thanksgiving 2010, well, American Thanksgiving, Oprah received some news about her family that she says shook her to her core. So Oprah Winfrey's half-sister Patricia, a single mother of 2, had been given up for adoption in Milwaukee by Winfrey's mother, Vernita, back in 1963. Now, Oprah was super young at the time of Patricia's adoption. She was living with her father in Nashville. She had no idea her mother was even pregnant. So Patricia was born on April 26th, and from the moment she came into the world, her life was far from easy. She was put up for adoption at birth, and apparently she was left in the hospital for about a month. And then for the next 7 years of her life, she bounced around from one foster home to another before finally being adopted. And all that time, she longed to be reunited with her mother. She had some disbelief that she didn't mean to put me up for adoption. She would just always wish that her mother was going to come back and get her, said Patricia. Then as she got older, she knew that wasn't going to happen. When Patricia was 17, she gave birth to a daughter, Aquarius. 6 years later, she had a son, Andre, and mentioned that her whole goal was she wanted her offspring to, be able to look at her, to see her, to be with them. She spent the next 30 years raising her descendants on her own. What she was grateful for was the people who she had in her life, the people who gave her strength, the people who loved her. She doesn't regret the fact that her mother gave her up because that wasn't the way her life was supposed to go. That was. So Oprah, on the other hand, had 2 siblings, a brother, a sister. Sadly, at the time of all that, they had already passed away. And Vernon, Oprah's father, is not Patricia's father, by the way. So Oprah said on her show, for the most part, her life has been an open book. On her show, she's seen everything. She thought nothing could surprise her anymore, but she was wrong. She described learning about her half-sister as news that shook her to her core. It left her speechless. Now, Patricia said she first discovered her link to the media mogul in 2007 after a lot of years of searching for her mother. And after her mother refused to meet with her, Patricia, who was on the phone with her son Andre, happened to overhear a local news report about Oprah's mom, who was giving new details about her other offspring. Her mother said that 2 of them had passed away, and Patricia knew from her records that she had 2 siblings who had passed away, and she heard that one was named Patricia, one was named Jeffrey. And this Patricia was like, oh my gosh, the hairs on the back of my neck stood up because I knew that one of my siblings and I shared the same name. And she said, no, that can't be. But it was. DNA tests proved that Patricia was an 85% match to Oprah's niece, who was the daughter of the first Winfrey sister named Patricia, who passed away in 2003. We're going to refer to her as Pat for clarification. Despite feeling rejected by her mother, Patricia decided to keep her findings a secret because she didn't want a media frenzy. She remembers just, worrying about Oprah. She was praying to God that nothing got out because she didn't want to hurt her. Now, Oprah's longtime best friend, editor of O Magazine, Gayle King, told news outlets that Oprah was stunned. Particularly that the sister she never knew showed so much loyalty. Gayle said, "Here's a woman who legitimately had a story to sell and didn't. She was just trying to find her mother." Oprah, of course, just turned out to be a bonus. So on Thanksgiving Day, Oprah and her partner Stedman drove to Milwaukee to meet Patricia and Patricia's family for the first time. And since meeting her half-sister and her new niece and nephew, Oprah said she had come to admire their character. And she said what was so remarkable to her about this, and what made her cry, was just because since she had been a person in the public eye, there had only been a few times that she had been anywhere and not been sold out. There were very few times in her life where she could bring somebody in new and not have that person in some way betray you or use you or take advantage of you. Look, Patricia had tried and tried again to get responses from anybody in that family, and she never once thought to go to the press. She never once thought to sell the story. And when Oprah heard that about her, she said regardless if it's true or not true, she had to meet Patricia because she wanted to meet somebody who had that kind of character. So she thanked her. So a few weeks after the whole DNA test got done, Patricia finally did meet her birth mother, Vernita, for the first time. And she said she just kept looking at her going, "I don't know if I look like you or not." She just kept trying to find herself in her. But there's no questioning how much Patricia looks like her half-sister Pat. Now, Pat's daughter Alicia says that meeting Patricia was one of the best gifts she ever could have gotten. Krishanda, Pat's other daughter, first heard about Patricia from Alicia, who then sent her a photo of their newfound aunt. And Krishanda said that when she saw the picture, she just knew it was true. Before even the DNA test, she just knew. And for Krishanda, getting to know Patricia was an emotional process. She said that she knew she had her own personality, her own gifts, but for her, it was a constant reminder of the goodness that Pat represented and personified. Pat had a lot of demons that prevented her from being her best self, and the whole family knew about that, but they feel like Pat speaks on through Patricia. And Oprah did agree that this was closure for her sister who had passed away. But this wasn't Oprah's only epiphany. Turns out when Oprah was younger, she had become pregnant, and that was her big secret. She'd been harmed before that. She became pregnant way too young, and then she was sent to live with her father. And her sister, Pat, went to the tabloids and sold that story. And that caused a big rift between Oprah and Pat because, well, being sold to the tabloids. So when Oprah had left the home of her mother the other day, when she had met Patricia, she realized all of this was a gift to her. Because Pat going to the tabloids, telling Oprah's secret, was a gift in a way because it released Oprah from the shame that her mother still carries, from her mother refusing to meet with Patricia. Oprah was thinking had Pat not sold her story, Oprah would still be exactly where her mother is, stuck in the shame of her secrets. Now, despite the difficulties she faced, Patricia never gave up trying to contact her biological family. She knew that she needed to get it out or get in touch so that nobody else would release that news. So when Oprah asked, why didn't Patricia want to, tell her story, sell her story, get that closure? And Patricia said, it's not fair. Number one, because it's family business, and family business needs to be handled by family. And when Oprah replied that, well, now it's out there, Patricia said, yes, but it was handled by family. It shouldn't be handled by anybody else. That wasn't fair, and it wouldn't be fair to Oprah. So Oprah has other secrets as well. She's a big fan of NDAs. But here's the thing, confidentiality agreements are not uncommon in the world of Hollywood. Marvel is very well known for this. If you leak something, we're looking at you, Tom Holland, you're in trouble. Everybody's got to sign one. We're talking if Tom Cruise was on the show, he had to sign one. If you made something for Tom, or if you were one of Tom's entourage, you had to sign one. I think over 500 staff members over the years have had to sign an NDA to work with Oprah. One former employee, Elizabeth Cody, tried to write a book about her time working for Oprah, but was stopped by the courts because she was tied to that lovely NDA. Because these non-disclosures weren't just meant to keep show secrets safe. This was also for Oprah's personal, privacy, which I get it. According to Elizabeth, anybody in Oprah's life had to sign one of these. But Elizabeth felt kind of, muzzled by all of this. And she's not the only one. In 2010, Unicus Performance Training filed a lawsuit against Oprah and her company Harpo, claiming they never got paid for a workout program they were developing for the company. UPT alleges that Harpo fired them for violating the terms of their confidentiality agreement. Why? And how? Well, UPT sent out a mass email. They were promoting their upcoming appearance on Oprah's radio show, and according to the confidentiality agreement, they weren't supposed to do that. They weren't allowed to use the name of the company, Oprah's name, Oprah's website name, anything for advertising or for promotional purposes, unless of course they wanted to get fired, even though they were just promoting their appearance on her show.